morning again, and welcome to the fourth hour. I appreciate having you along. You, what, do you know of Tiffany Henyard and who she is? Have you followed Steve, I know you're somebody who follows a lot of video on YouTube. You certainly must know who Tiffany Henyard is because she is a big story this morning. Let's go to the New York Post, and you can see she is, well, she's called the Dalton Dictator. She's a supervisor of this small town. This is in Illinois. And she is as crooked as you could imagine. I mean, that's my opinion. I mean, this woman is corrupt and crooked, and the people in the community know it. And look at those folks out there, man, dancing after her defeat, and she was creamed. I mean, they not only said no to her, they said hell no. So she was, and it's, I think you're going to hear her name again, I believe. And I'm speculating, but there have been all kinds of allegations about her and the corruption. And for folks who have been following that story, I mean, it's just jaw-dropping to see what she has been involved in. So it's no wonder that you got folks there who are in Cook County, Illinois. No surprise that you see folks there really, really happy as to what's happening. Okay, let's take a look at more significant events. I think to all of us, Donald Trump. Let's go to his Truth Social account. President Trump. This was an interview with Tom Homan and on Fox. And Trump shared this earlier, just within the last few hours. All of these posts have come from Trump just within the last few hours. And the president, then picking up Holman's comments, President Trump made a promise to the American people that he's going to make their community safer. For those sanctuary cities that want to push back and impede us, we'll double the man force there. We'll double worksite enforcement there. Wow. Holman is not somebody I would want to go toe-to-toe with. Seriously, that is losing. Donald Trump is having his first cabinet meeting today. This will be the first cabinet meeting. So all of the, cabinet officials and so on, they'll all be there. President saying all of the cabinet members are extremely happy with Elon. The media will see that at the cabinet meeting this morning. Also, the president, and again, these are comments that he's made within the last few hours. He said, big first step win for Speaker Mike Johnson and America. Now let's start to balance the budget. It can be done, the president says, balancing the budget. That would be amazing, an amazing step. Also, the president remarking, you may have seen this story is trending. The Southwest pilots in Chicago were going in, and there was another plane, and they nearly collided. The two planes nearly collided. And so the president saying the Southwest pilots did a great job. Is also saying, I hope the House and Senate are able to agree on making the tax cuts permanent, part of the president's budget. So that is the latest from President Trump this morning from his Truth Social account. He was asked regarding a bruise on his hand. Where is that story? Here we go. This is from Fox News Radio. The president has bruises on his hand, and you can see it in the photos there. I'll back this up a little bit for you. So you see this bruise on the back of his hand? He's been asked about this actually a number of times. And Carolyn Leavitt, White House press secretary, said, so hard to no longer, or it's refreshing to no longer have to say Karine Jean-Pierre at the Ministry of Truth. I got so used to calling the White House press secretary, the Ministry of Truth. I find it's difficult to break that habit sometimes. But why does the president have bruises on his hand? Because he's constantly shaking hands all day, every day, Carolyn Levitt says. So he was asked about this around Thanksgiving in an interview with Time Magazine. Why the bruising on your hand? And he said at that time it's from shaking hands with thousands of people. He's always out there and he's always shaking hands. That is something that we've seen pretty regularly from President Trump. Let's go to Straight Arrow News, because this is, I think, a big story. This is new. I had not seen this earlier this morning. The Trump administration, and this is, again, you can see here a couple of hours ago. Trump administration has named Amy Gleason as acting administrator of Doge. So I don't know what's, Elon Musk and his role. I don't know exactly what's going on there. We'll see how this shakes out. Likely we'll see more reporting on this today. But Amy Gleason is being named as the acting administrator of the Department of Government Efficiency. And again, there were a big story yesterday. You had 21 civil service employees. Okay, civil service employees, in other words, what does that mean? Government employees. Government employees. So government employees who don't like cutting federal government. I talked about that at length in the during the Greg Belfrage show this morning, so I'm not going to revisit that. I think I even touched on it a little bit yesterday, but so much of these things that are happening, you just look at it and you shake your head and maybe you kick the dog, you get frustrated. I'm not suggesting that. I'm not suggesting, you know what I'm saying. Just really kind of frustrating to see what's going on. Also, we were talking this morning about Carolyn Levitt, the press secretary, and yesterday, and how they're changing things up in the White House press briefing room. And they want to get some of these they want to get new players in. They want to get new folks in rather than ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, the White House Correspondents Association, blah, 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 blah. The same old voices, same old legacy media voices. And they're trying to get new folks in along those lines. And yesterday, sitting right in the front row, was a reporter from Semaphore. Okay, if you've never heard of Semaphore, I want to give you an example of Semaphore. This is a story they've got this morning. How Trump toppled his party's national security orthodoxy. And so that caught my attention. Interesting. President Donald Trump bulldozing over generations of Republican national security orthodoxy. He canned the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, who was really broadly supporting. He's pulling closer to Russia on the world stage after Republican hawks then have been fighting Vladimir Putin. And it's pretty fascinating when you take a look at some of these reactions. So they say what's most remarkable, though, is the lack of public tension between the party's hawks and its non-interventionist wing. So you're not seeing any of these scuffles that you saw during the president's first term. Is what they're saying. And so Senator Jim Banks of Indiana said it's not it's not isolationism. It's realism. The party has changed. President Trump has changed the party in his own image. It's true. Donald Trump has changed the Republican Party in, I think, a really kind of significant way. And Senator Banks is not the only one who is saying that. So some aren't fully unwilling to push back against Trump and where he's at on Russia. I have seen that. You hear them, some of their comments, and, they think the president's making a big mistake and so on. They go on to report the shift that Trump imposed on the Republican Party is already in place. The White House acknowledged its policy decisions over the past month, essentially finalizes the break from the establishment consensus that was forged during the George W. Bush administration. White House official described this using the same realism term used by Banks, arguing that Trump's approach does not adhere to any outdated doctrine. Yeah, this is pretty amazing. One NSC official said it all falls in line with Trump's perspective, which is there's no greater deterrent to chaos in the world than a strong America at home. Do you agree with that? Now, I look at some of the people who are pushing back, and Senator Susan Collins of Maine is one of the most, limp-wristed Republicans. And what I mean is she is just milk toast and bordering on being liberal. So some of the pushback coming from them, it doesn't get me all upset. Senator Collins, I do not think, based on the merits, that the decision to fire them was warranted. You know what, Senator Collins? You're not the president. I don't know if anybody's told her. I mean, I understand senators have a big role, and I'm not trying to diminish that, but your judgment as a senator does not prevail. The president's prevails. Some of these folks have a really hard time grasping that. I don't know is that they don't understand it, or she is, I haven't seen her on the right side of an issue in a long time. Senator Susan Collins. Generally speaking, she's on the wrong side of issues. And here you've got somebody who I greatly respect. I've mentioned him a number of times, both on the air and during the fourth hour, Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana. And he is talking about, is Congress going to give more money to Ukraine? And Senator Kennedy said, I don't think a bill to send more money to Ukraine right now would pass. He said Congress has little choice at this point, but to be deferential. It's a stark change from 8 years ago when Trump at times drew the ire of GOP hawks like Senator John McCain, Senator Mitch McConnell. Yeah. Senator Eric Schmidt of Missouri said it's a pivot to realism. Realism is the word that you're hearing now from a lot of Republicans. Listen to that. Realism, being realistic, having realistic expectations, and trying rather than, being more dominant here at home and focusing more here at home. Especially right now with all of the problems America's got, that makes a great deal of sense to me. Anyway, I suggest you read this piece. It's at semaphore.com. And it's part of my regular stack of stuff. I mean, as I'm going in and I'm checking, seeing what, because I go to a number of different places. I go to Straight Arrow News. I go to One America News Network. I go to Newsmax. There are Semaphore now as part of the club. A couple of other stories that I wanted to also share with you this morning. Take a look at what's going on in Massachusetts. They voted to fire their administrator following a dispute over a Trump flag. What is it about? Oh, this stuff is just crazy. So this was a closed door Zoom meeting vote on this issue, and the result was 4-1 vote to remove the town administrator. Why? Why are they removing the town administrator? Because when the administrator toured the police station in January, he saw a Trump flag hanging in the gymnasium, and he claimed the flag was a civil rights violation. How in the hell do you come to that conclusion? I mean, how do you come to that conclusion? It's a civil rights violation. So the police chief removed the flag, and then he says that he believes the supervisor later had a town employee sneak into the police station to make sure that the flag had been taken down. Got to make sure it's taken down. Boy, is that, if that is not like junior high school kind of, hey, will you go in? You got to go in and check that, make sure that. Again, I just laugh at this stuff because what else do you do? Otherwise, you're infuriated by this kind of nonsense. So he went in. Yep, a new flag was hanging that has since been taken down. He says he was targeted. This is the city's police chief now. He said he was targeted. He sent a 3-page memo to the Board of Selectmen to request an immediate and thorough review of his actions. And the chief said, either he's gone or I'm gone. I'm going to take all vacation time until this is resolved. I'm not reporting to the guy. I don't trust him. There's no trust there. Wow, this is crazy. So Ryan's attorney said he was disappointed with the board's decision. He acknowledges he could have handled the situation differently. I love reading apologies from people or explanations, that are short of apologies. What you rarely find is, you know what? Hey, I was wrong. Shouldn't have done it. This was a mistake. You don't do things like this. This is that's on me. I completely accept responsibility from that. No. So he expressed his regret and his role in what became an embarrassment and a distraction for the entire town. So, that kind of stuff, just seriously, you really, especially if you were serving the people, don't you really just have to kind of take a step back and say, what battles are you willing to fight? And what do you just let slide? There's certain things you just have to let slide. I think so. I mean, that's life. We're all making that decision. You're raising your kids. Okay, do you want to be on there? You want to be on them all of the time to do this, and you did that wrong. Or do you want to choose your battles with your kids? The same way that should be your philosophy in life. Choose your battles. Not every battle is worth fighting. And some things, let it go. You got this Trump flag hanging in the inability of people to let things go. Well, it's good news. It makes for great fodder for me, but it's disappointing to me. And I mean that very sincerely. It's disappointing that you don't see more people able to, they just don't realize when they should fight and what's the appropriate way to say something, and when you just let things pass. And I think that's a skill. If you're smart, you work on that throughout your life. Okay, am I overreacting here? Am I making too much out of this? I think it's a question that I ask myself fairly routinely. I try to. Whether it's on the job or it's in my personal life. Also, this is from foxnews.com this morning. Number of restaurant chains likely continue to file for bankruptcy in the coming years because of the debt that was accumulated during the COVID-19 pandemic. According to a bankruptcy attorney, restaurants that exist today may not exist in 5 years. They'll be off the map, he said. He said consumers will see a lot of restaurants with a decreased footprint. Yeah, you're kind of seeing that already. You're seeing some of these major chains where they are in trouble and they're having to reorganize or they're filing for bankruptcy protection. And what he's saying is expect to see more of that happen. Also, I found this interesting. I think you may too. Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley and Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson want some of Joe Biden's records. They are demanding that the National Archives and Records Administration turn over records relating to Joe Biden's use of a personal email address to conduct official government business and relating to his family's financial dealings. So they wrote a letter and they've been conducting oversight a lot of this. You and I know we have talked about it on the show over time. They have sent 5 letters requesting documents that they say are vital to their oversight work. And the letters are ignored. That is, I wonder what role the president can play in this. I wonder what role President Trump can play in getting the, and I don't know if there is a role for him to be able to play in this or not. But they are demanding all records in their possession referencing Hunter Biden, his business partners, the ventures that they were working on. They also are demanding records from the office of the vice president, which Joe Biden was at that time. They're also demanding all records with Joe Biden's pseudonyms. You had a number of them: Robin Ware, Robert L. Peters, JRB Ware. JRB, those are Biden's initials. Joseph Robinette Biden. So JRB Ware 267 Stingray. Wow. Records and email addresses that were used by Joe Biden. I think I don't know that we'll ever see that. And one of the things that is remarkable about Donald Trump is what Donald Trump is doing. Who is Donald Trump focused on? There was all of this consternation and concern before the election. Donald Trump is going to be out there and he's going to be trying to, he's going to be taking revenge on Joe Biden and he's going to be after Joe Biden. And how much of that have you seen? What I see is a president who's really focused on the American people. He is really focused on, on the border. The things I wind up talking about every day. He's focused on cutting waste in the federal government. He's not focused on Joe Biden. So that's pretty incredible. Want to wish Senator Grassley and Senator Johnson success in their efforts. So you made it this far. Thank you. I appreciate it. You've made it to the end of the video. You are part of my gallery of champions this morning. If you would hit the like button before you leave, I would appreciate that as well. We're going to leave it there for today. Thank you so much for making the 4th hour a part of your day. And I hope to see you again tomorrow. So we'll do it again then. So long. See you again soon, my friend.